Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to Dallas Social Toastmasters for this evening, where we will kick off with holiday memories. We do have one guest for this evening, Heather. So please help us welcome Heather to tonight's meeting. And with that, I don't have a flag, so we'll dispense with that and just go right on into the meeting. So tonight our theme is holiday meeting memories. Of course, we are going into the holiday season, and I think that everybody has an opportunity to celebrate holidays. Everybody has different traditions and things that they would like to share. So does anybody briefly have anything that a specific holiday tradition that they would like to share this evening with the group?
For Thanksgiving, I get together with some of my family and we eat a disgusting amount of food.
Okay. So that's pretty common. Anybody else have any different? Mark?
For Christmas, I make sure sometime around one of the important meals to make sure that I play the Christmas song by the Chipmunks to annoy everybody.
Yes, that's always fun. The Chipmunk song is always fun. I think one of the traditions that I've always had was to, of course, celebrate Christmas at home and open up Christmas presents and just spend the day eating food, having good times. And my all-time holiday tradition for New Year's, for the longest time working in healthcare, was working on New Year's. That was actually the one major holiday that I really didn't care much about if I had to work or not back when I was single. Then when I got married, my wife, her birthday is actually on New Year's Day, and her tradition has always been to go shopping and finding the best deals on New Year's Day. So after I got married, the tradition of going shopping on New Year's Day has taken over, which at first took a little bit of getting used to, because I'll be honest, I am not someone that would care about going in the crowds, but my wife does it, and so that's her birthday. So this way, if I really screw up and I forget her birthday, then I can pick up something while we're out. It works. In effect, although I've not managed to totally forget too often. Just a few things for getting started. With that, I will now actually go ahead and start calling on our duty holder positions for this evening. And Rob Giles will be our timer. So Rob, will you please share your role with us for this evening?
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. As your timer this evening, I'm here to help you to learn how to keep within a specific time frame when you're speaking. I will be timing prepared speeches, table topic speeches, and evaluations. And I'm hoping to have backgrounds for you, but in the meantime, this is what will be happening if I don't get the backgrounds going. And that is when you meet your minimum time, I will show the green card here. When you get between the minimum and maximum goal time, I will show the yellow card. And then when you reach the maximum goal time, I will show the red. At that point, you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up. For prepared speeches, I think that both of them are 5 to 7 minutes today. So the green will be shown at 5 minutes, the yellow at 6 minutes, and then the red at 7 minutes, in which case, like I said, you'll have 30 seconds or more to wrap up in order to qualify. For table topics, it's 1 to 2 minutes, green card at 1 minute, yellow card at 1.5, red card at 2 minutes, again, 30 seconds to wrap up. For evaluations, it's 2 to 3 minutes. You'll get the green card at 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, you'll get the yellow card. At 3 minutes, you will get the red card, 30 seconds to wrap up. You can go under by 30 seconds in order to qualify, except for table topics. in which case you have to meet 1 minute exactly in order to qualify. Please be sure that you have me on your screen if you're speaking so that you can see me. If you know how to pin me, then you can do that by going to the top corner and clicking on those 3 dots and then click pin, and you can pin me on your screen while you're speaking so that you know what your time is as you go along. I will give reports as called upon throughout the meeting when called upon by the big 3. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. Our next duty holder for this evening will be Grammarian, which is Karen Lee. Karen, will you please introduce your role to it?
Tonight,
Actually, you've got 2 roles, that and all counter. So go ahead and just give us your both duties.
tonight as our counter, I'll be listening for different pauses or ahs, ums, you knows, and I'll make notes and I'll give a report when called upon. And as grammarian, I chose a word of the day, which is joy. It's defined as the emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what one desires or delight. Using it in a sentence, the inexpressible joy that the couple are feeling upon the birth of their first child. And the joy is to be used in table topics to qualify, and I will make notes of the any interesting uses of the English language, and I will give a report when called upon. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Next, we have vote counter Adelita. Will you please give your report or describe your role to us?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I will accept votes through the private chat to me and count the votes after the audience votes for best speaker, best table topics speaker, best evaluator, and the best big 3. The big 3 are the Toastmaster and the table topic master and the general evaluator. I will record each person wins in each category. I will not cast a vote myself except in the case of a tie, in which case I will cast a vote to break the tie. However, I will not announce that there was a tie vote. Again, place your vote by sending me a message in private chat only to me. At the end of the meeting, I will announce the winners. You may also, and I encourage that you do, send comments to each speaker, evaluator, and table topics participant by sending private chat messages to the person directly. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you very much. Our final duty holder for this evening is that of posture monitor, which is done by Madeline. Madeline, will you please share your role for this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As posture monitor, I'll be watching all the meeting attendees to identify unusual or distracting posture, such as head scratching, hands clasping or wringing, hair flipping, foot tapping, or any other distracting gestures. I'll also be looking for posture, gestures, and facial expressions that enhance the speaker's points, and I will take notes accordingly. Normally, when I see distracting posture and/or gestures, I would use the bell to notify the speaker, except during prepared speeches. However, currently, while we're virtual, not only will I not ring the bell during the prepared speeches, especially since I don't have a bell, I may not ring the bell during the entire meeting, depending on my access to a bell and capability to do so. I will, however, keep track and notate these types of distractions in writing throughout the meeting for each person who speaks. So this is the big 3: prepared speakers, table topic contestants, evaluators, and duty holders. I will also note any audience member's posture if it indicates that he or she is not paying attention to the speaker. I will report the results at the end of the meeting when called upon by the general evaluator. Thanks, and back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. Just before going into the prepared speeches for this evening, one thing about, I think, holiday memories that a lot of times we tend to think of when we see those 2 words is we think of Christmas, New Year's, and Thanksgiving, the three big major holidays, but we also have a lot of other holidays throughout the year, some that are nationally recognized, some that aren't quite so much, some that are more commercially driven than others. For example, 4th of July is a holiday in which a lot of people will do barbecues, spend time out at the swimming pool, a number of things. You've got one of the other spring holidays, that of St. Patrick's Day, where people go crazy and will coat themselves in green and get themselves drunk. Very similar to that of Fat Tuesday and Mardi Gras, for that matter, except people will paint themselves purple, gold, and green. So they add a few other colors. And then I think everybody has some special day that they also consider a holiday for them, perhaps a birthday, an anniversary, or any other number of things. So just before we go into the prepared speaking portion of the meeting, does anybody have like a self-proclaimed holiday that they would like to talk about briefly, or some special day that they celebrate? Tom is
Birthdays?
smiling.
Hey, does anybody celebrate Festivus?
You want to tell us about that?
It's a reference to the Seinfeld episode, one of the best episodes of all time, I thought, on Seinfeld.
Okay. We do have two speakers for this evening. Our first speaker is Justin, and he will be evaluated by John. So John, will you please share Justin's speech objectives with us?
I don't have his agenda, so I have no idea. Or his evaluation.
I sent it to you. I sent it to you like twice.
Okay. I just sent you an email from my account. Attach it to that one and send it back.
Okay. Since y'all are working that out, why don't we go ahead and just have Tom start for this evening? And Rob, will you go ahead and share Tom's information with us?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster. Tom is working on the second project in his pathway, which is evaluation and feedback. He will be performing the first speech from that project tonight. And the purpose of his project is for Tom to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback, and then apply that feedback to a second speech. The purpose of his speech is to present a speech that he receives feedback from myself as his evaluator. His speech, like I said, can be on any topic as of his choice. His title is, "What Kind of Idiot Does That?" Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, please help me welcome Tom with "What Kind of Idiot Does That?" What kind of idiot does that, Tom?
Thank you very much, Lee. So one of my all-time fondest holiday memories is from a vacation that my wife and I took to Florida. By chance, one of my best high school friends was also vacationing in Florida, just a few minutes down the road, and we met for dinner. So while we were waiting to turn into the parking lot for the restaurant, we had the chance to watch a bungee ride right across the street. So if you've ever seen one of these, it's a seat for two connected to the top of two radio towers by giant bungee cables. And then the bungees are pulled taut and the riders are slingshot up into the sky where they bounce around hundreds of feet up. So we're watching all of this and I remark, what kind of idiot does that? I am not a thrill seeker. And to me, this had no appeal whatsoever. So it was just kind of an offhand remark. What kind of idiot does that? And I wasn't really looking for an answer to the question, but after dinner and a few drinks, my question was answered. as my high school friend was being strapped in to the ride right next to me. So my friend asked the ride operator, how do you make it tumble more on its way down? And the operator told him, when you get to the top, throw yourself forward like you're doing crunches. So I don't know how high this thing went, but when we got to the top, you could see for miles down the beach. And when we got off, my wife said you could hear for miles down the beach. The stream of profanities coming from me, yelling at my friend, sit back, sit back, sit back, God, you son of a... That ride should have been rated R for profanity. Anyway, the reason that this came to mind recently, I happened to be out on the Santa Fe Trail, and it was a spectacular fall day. Blue sky, sunny, mild temperatures, and the stretch of trail I was on was lined with trees in both directions as far as you could see. And I remember thinking, what a joy it is to disconnect, to get off the grid, to get out into nature. And I'm walking along and I came upon a radio tower, and it was lined with cell phone antennas. And I thought, what kind of idiot does that? What kind of idiot takes a call out here? And sure enough, as soon as I think that, my phone rings. I'm not going to take this call. And it rings again. I don't care. I'm not going to take this call. But I peek at it. I recognize the number. It was Central Market. It rings again. I know what they're calling about. They're calling to confirm substitutions for my grocery order. I'm not gonna. It rings again. Hello. You're what? You're all out of Italian parsley? You want to know if it's okay to substitute curly leaf parsley? Curly leaf parsley? Are you kidding me? Curly leaf parsley? This is for linguine with clam sauce. What kind of animals do you think we are? No, I'm kidding. I did not say that, but I did take the call and regretted it. So I don't know why it is so hard for me to learn my lesson, to not make this mistake. But this is a mistake I have made over and over again. There was a time years ago talking to a neighbor who mentioned that she was going home to cook chicken for her dog, who was recovering from hip surgery that cost $4,000. And I remember thinking, $4,000 for a dog for surgery? Are you kidding me? At the time, I had 2 preschoolers. I'm trying to figure out, how does anybody pay for college for their kids? And she spent $4,000 on surgery for her dog. So did I mention this was before we had let our kids adopt a dog? So anyway, I don't know why it's been so hard for me to stop doing this, but I have thought about it quite a bit, and I've come up with a theory. So the theory goes something like this. What kind of idiot does that? The question is just ripe with hubris and ego. So these are hubris and ego. Nothing tempts fate like these 2 things. Greek tragedies, Shakespeare's comedies, Friday the 13th movies. Nothing invites retribution like these 2. It's almost as if you say the question out loud, what kind of idiot does that? And you can just hear the universe calling, karma, oh karma, I have a job for you. This one's going to be easy. So anyway, so that's my theory. Every time I'd step into this trap, every time I do this, I find myself saying, Tom, you idiot. What kind of a question, what kind of an idiot starts a question with the words, what kind of idiot? And the trap is set. The cycle repeats itself. So for the record, I don't actually believe in fate. This is just the kind of thing I amuse myself with while I'm cooking my dog, her linguine. Back to you, Lee.
Thank you, for a very entertaining speech. Definitely can relate on many levels. I've never spent $4,000 on a dog. Quite frankly, that's why they have pet insurance. And I guess if you're that type of pet owner, then you'll spend, well, if you don't want to spend $4,000 on a hip replacement for a dog, then I guess you could have that other group of people that will spend $4,000 in pet insurance and then never use it. Either way you go, pets are just not, or I should say, inexpensive. Our next speaker for this evening is Justin, and his evaluator is John. John, can you please share the speech details on Justin's speech?
Yes, sir. Justin will be speaking tonight from the Pathway Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. The purpose of his speech is to share some aspects of previous experience as a protege. So he will be discussing a time he was a protege in his past. It may not be limited to Toastmasters, just any time, and just that. He's going to explain what it's like to be a protege under a mentor. Thank you.
And Justin, what's your title?
First victory.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. First victory, Justin, first victory.
What makes a good teacher? What makes a good student? At Toastmasters, they offer mentors and proteges program in which an experienced speaker can mentor a protege and show them what it takes to be a good speaker, a better speaker. A good mentor customizes their advice to their mentee. They also are experienced. They share with them what their issues or problems were and relate to the mentee. They also are open to hearing their long-term goals. A good mentee is open-minded, willing to take correction, hardworking, diligent, responsible, and reliable, and is willing to do the work to get better. I experienced a mentor before. I loved sports growing up. I played football from 3rd grade to high school. I played soccer, wrestling. I played baseball for a short period. But nothing compared until when I was a freshman in high school and I tried out the wrestling team. I'm not sure if you guys can experience being naturally gifted at something, being talented naturally, a prodigy. That was not my story. At first, I was a terrible wrestler. I lost match after match after match. In my first month, I lost all my matches. I didn't win one. Then I had my baptism of fire. The lead wrestler at my weight class got injured, and I was thrown into varsity. I was losing on JV against sophomores and freshmen. Now I had to wrestle seniors and juniors. As you can imagine, I kept losing match after match. But then one day, James, he was a senior. He took me aside and he said, I was just like you when I first started wrestling. wrestling is not like any other sport. Wrestling is different from football. Football is more about being athletic. Being athletic, then technique and experience comes next. But wrestling, it's all about your experience, your technique, and being athletic comes last. And he told me, the reason you're losing is because you're not able to process all what's happening quickly, and you're getting beat because you're overthinking. Question important, you're coming in doing double legs, but we're big guys. It's better off to come in and do a single leg and then do a sweep. He had customized advice for me. He showed me how to do certain moves. He didn't give up on me even when I continued to lose match after match. And then one day, at our last wrestling meet, I came in, did a one leg shot, grabbed my opponent's leg, I swung him on the ground. I pinned him. I was finally victorious. I was championed by my bandmates. I was joyful, grateful to experience such a great experience. My first victory. How I was so ingrained because I have put in the work. I experienced pain, hardship, loss you can't imagine. But in that moment, we all celebrated together as a team. Because I went through the necessary process to be victorious. We can use this in Toastmasters. We can use this story by showing what a good mentor does for the mentee. A good mentor brings customized advice to what the mentee needs. They also are experienced and willing to come down and share their story to the mentee. They're also willing to take in and hear what the mentee is needing. But also, the mentee is needing to be open-minded, willing to learn, put in the work, and do the due diligence. And if we all do this, we all can emerge victorious. We all can be winners. We all can be better speakers. We all can increase our vocabulary, have better body language, and overall be better Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, for a very well organized speech. Definitely, I have never done wrestling. I don't know anything about wrestling, so very informative for sure. Like you, I was on the skinnier side, so I never even thought I could go against some of those larger, more stocky wrestlers. So kudos for you for trying. At this time, could I please have a timers report?
Mr. Toastmaster, both prepared speakers qualified on time. Tom qualified at 6 minutes and 14 seconds. Justin at 6 minutes and 37 seconds. So kudos to both.
All right. At this time, please send a private message to Adelita, voting for the better of the two speakers between Tom and Justin. We will now go ahead and move into our next portion of the meeting, that being table topics. And I will allow our table topics master to explain that in a little more detail for the benefit of our guests. Dagan, Megan, will you please take it away?
Okay, thank you, Lee. Yes, as table topic questions, I will be coming up, well, I already have questions that I came up with that is pretty much kind of, off the cuff speaking. So I'll ask a question, you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to respond to that question. And the time frame is 1 to 2 minutes, like I said, but you have to meet at least 1 minute, but you do get 30 seconds leeway on the backside. So basically it is 1 to 2.5 minutes. And you must use the word of the day, joy, which is right above my head here for you to remember. You have to use the word of the day, joy, and table topics to also qualify. So within time frame and use the word of the day. And yes, I will ask some of our members here some questions, and then I might ask y'all here in a little bit and see if y'all want to try to participate. You don't have to. I just thought I'm gonna put it out there and ask y'all here in a little bit. So, all right. So my first question is, what is your favorite holiday and why? And this question is going to go to Adelita.
Just a quick reminder, make sure that you have your timer Rob Giles visible at all times.
Thank you, Topic Master. What is my favorite holiday? I don't think I really do have a favorite holiday, but I do enjoy Thanksgiving. It's not my favorite holiday, but I do enjoy it more than the other holidays, only because my sister comes into town and now my brother's going to come into town and I haven't seen them in a while. And we usually get the entire family together and we basically, we have like all these ideas of doing things with having to stay up late, drinking lots of wine, making tamales, or we just like to play games before the day of Thanksgiving, only because my sister is making pies and we're not helping her just because she doesn't want our help. And so we'll just sit there with maybe 2 or 3 boxes of wine, and all of us ladies gather on the table and we just start talking about nonsense. And that is a memory and brings us lots of joy to keep those memories together. And it's the only reason why I like it the best, but it's not my favorite because I know there's been other other Thanksgiving days that are not always turn out to be the same. Thank you. Back to you, Topic Master.
Thank you, Adelita. I think my favorite holiday is going to be Christmas, just because it's my birthday too. All right, so my next question is going to be, out of these three holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, rank them from your favorite to least, and then tell us also why you ranked them that way. That question is going to go to Karen.
So the question is Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and rank them by my favorite. I think the holiday that gives me the most joy is Christmas, because I get a chance to spend with family. We, the past few years, have been going to Seattle or to Washington State to spend the holidays with my brother and sister-in-law, my 2 nieces. And last year we went to Leavenworth, Washington, and got a chance to see the mountains and the snow, and we're on the inner tubes going down the snowy mountain. And the town itself is a Bavarian town, and they decorate the whole town for Christmas. So The second holiday you asked is Thanksgiving, and we usually celebrate that holiday by getting a chance to eat turkey and dressing with family. And Halloween is ranked as the third holiday for me. The last couple of years haven't had any trick-or-treaters, so haven't had a lot of children come by and trick-or-treat for the Halloween holiday. So back to you, Mr. Table Talks Master.
All right, thank you, Karen. And if you, well, let me rank it myself. I'd probably rank them Christmas, Thanksgiving, then Halloween. Because, you know, like I said before, Christmas, my birthday, Halloween, you know, great being family as well. And Halloween, you know, getting the candy, the really night of Halloween or the day after that, you know, really good sales on Halloween candy. But other than that, yeah, that's about it for me. All right, so my next question is kind of based on the question I put in the chat earlier about if anybody had birthdays between April and September, but only a couple of people responded, and thank you for that. So, and I want to get somebody who had a birthday that's not fairly, you know, very, you know, fairly close to Christmas. So my question is, what do you think it would be like if your birthday was on Christmas? And the question is going to go to Madeline.
Thank you. I knew I might regret answering you. So what would it be like to have my birthday on Christmas? That depends on what age I am. So I think having a birthday on Christmas when I am younger has the potential to really cheat me out of a lot of gifts. I really don't think you're going to get the same amount of gifts that you would at two different times. Like my birthday is in September currently, Christmas is in December. I would get a solid 2 rounds of gifts. So I think as a child, it doesn't really benefit you. You don't really profit from having your birthday near Christmas. You're just not going to get as many gifts. Now, as you get older, I think it's fun to have your birthday around Christmas time. It's a joy to spend that time with your family. Personally, for me, I would really like it just because everyone's in town for the holidays. So what can I say? I can make it about me while also being about the good Lord. So it would be a great time to have everyone all together, celebrate. Christmas is my favorite holiday. I would really enjoy having Christmas and my birthday overlap because I get to see all of my favorite people, celebrate with everyone together, and make it just a little bit about me. So back to you, Table Topics Master.
All right, thank you, Madeline. And I know from other people that have, I've heard of other people have, you know, I've known that have birthdays on Christmas and some maybe the day before, the day after. And I've heard them say, yeah, well, I only got like one gift when I was a kid, you know, because of that. But I was actually kind of lucky. My parents made a point we celebrated Christmas in the morning and we celebrated my birthday in the afternoon. So I actually had 2 different gifts, basically. So I lucked out, and my rest of my immediate family, you know, kind of went along with that too. So I actually got 2 gifts, one for Christmas and one for birthday. So I lucked out, and yeah, definitely as an adult is pretty good too, because everybody celebrates your birthday, you know. All right, so I'm gonna ask the guest. I know Sam has already put out there he's willing to, but Heather, would you like to participate? If not, that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with Sam first since he responded. So Sam, what is your favorite holiday memory, and what holiday was it for?
Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to turn on my camera. I'm in my car, so it's a little bit dark, but bear with me.
While he's working on it, Sam is the person who ended up at Ozona Grill expecting to see us there.
Okay. Oh boy, it's really dark. Anyway, let me turn off my camera. I think it won't really help. But yeah, my favorite holiday would be Christmas. I've been American now for about 8 years. And the last time I actually was with family celebrating Christmas was 8 years ago. And the joy that encompassed me during that period was so much, because now reflecting back to how I was able to gather around family and celebrate, Christmas was, it's so cherishable now, because now I miss all those moments where we gathered together, sang together, played music together, ate together, and fellowship together. That camaraderie that Christmas brings was so enchanting. So my favorite would be Christmas, and the reason is because it enables me to gather around family and celebrate the birth of our Lord. Back to you, to be Topics Master.
All right, thank you, Sam. And Heather, I'm gonna give you the same question. So, what is your favorite holiday memory, and what holiday was it for?
So, one holiday memory that brings me the most joy is when I was trick-or-treating as a child. What's more exciting than going around to a bunch of different houses and being able to pick up candy? Candy is an extremely joyful type of food, and it's extremely fun to be able to pick up lots of different candy, run around in a costume. I always got a lot of joy out of dressing up as various things over the years. One year I dressed up as the devil, and I had a horse I was riding. I also dressed up the horse with like flames and a blanket. It was really fun. So overall, I enjoy the candy that I get from trick-or-treating on Halloween, and the horseback riding, dressing up your horse competition, because it's really fun to dress up a horse. And that's my memory.
All right, thank you, Heather. So I guess that we will conclude this portion of table topics. But first, let me tell you about my favorite memory. It's not really a holiday, but it's based on a holiday, because it's like we did like a Christmas in July. I actually came home one day and got surprised with all these people in the house, and we're just celebrating Christmas in July. So we also had a birthday cake for me to celebrate my birthday, since it's Christmas in July. So that was like pretty amazing. I completely was flabbergasted when I walked in there. It's like wow, So anyway, so we're gonna conclude this. So let me ask a few questions. First, let me ask the timer. Did everybody qualify on time?
Mr. Topic Master, all contestants qualified on time.
All right, thank you, Rob. And Karen, did everybody use the word of the day?
Yes, everyone used the word of the day.
All right, so now you have your options. Remember to send your private vote to Adelita. And so we're going to vote for, first one was Adelita, talked about her favorite holiday and why. Then Karen talked about ranking Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And Madeline talked about what it'd be like to have a birthday on Christmas. And both our guests, Heather and Sam, talked about favorite holiday and memory and what holiday it was. So please take a moment and vote for the best person you thought did the table topics, and we'll turn it over to our general evaluator, unless our Toastmaster wants to chime back in.
No, you can turn it over to Mark.
Okay, so we're going to turn it over to Mark Schroeder, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Dagan. Appreciate it. Tonight I'm going to be your general evaluator, which means I have several duties. Certainly as general evaluator, I will be doing an evaluation of the meeting as a whole, but I do that later. I'm going to start off with the other parts of my duty, which are, we had 2 speakers. So that means we're going to have 2 evaluators, give each of our speakers both an oral and a written evaluation. They get the written one separately, but they're going to do the oral one for us. And then we call on all of our duty holders to see how did we do on some of the more minor duties like the ahs and the ahs and ums and gesture, et cetera, tonight. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing as General Evaluator. Let me go ahead and start with our first evaluator tonight. And because we've reversed our speakers from the agenda, if you happen to be looking at it, I believe our first evaluator will be the one evaluating Tom's speech, and that's going to be Rob Giles. Rob, give me just 1 second, since you're going to need me to be the timer for you to get my stuff ready. All right, at this point, I'm ready for you anytime. Please welcome Rob Giles, evaluating Tom's speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially you, Tom. It is always a joy to listen to you speak. It is done so in a way that I'm going to explain a little bit more in a minute, that definitely lifts my spirits and makes me a happier person when I hear you speak. The first thing that I want to talk about as far as your speech tonight is how you opened. I thought you did a great job because you started out with this story and it really drew my attention in, and it brought me in and made me focus even more on what you were doing and what you were talking about. And you brought that story in about the bungee jumpers and, you know, who are these crazy people, these idiots that would do something like this? So I thought you did a great job with drawing me in. And the next thing that I thought you did a fantastic job with was this story went on and it moved to other stories, but you connected things together. You talked about the bungee jumping and how high the like radio towers were, or they were as high as radio towers where the bungees were coming from. And then you incorporated that same radio tower when you were on the beach and talking about, or I think it was on the beach, when you're talking about getting cell phone service and things like that. So you connected some of these things together throughout, and as well as the actual topic itself of being an idiot for various different things. And I thought you did a great job of intertwining those stories and connecting everything. So good job with that. Another thing that I thought you did well, and the combination of things here, was one, vocal variety and gestures, which included facial expressions. Your vocal variety was great. You expressed, sit back, and you raised your voice for that. You also talked about, are you kidding? Are you kidding? When you were talking on the phone. So you had some vocal variety in there that enhanced what you were talking about. Your gestures were good. You talked about the bungee and used your hands when you were talking about that. And I think you used your hands for a phone in that regard as well. So you had some good vocal variety and gestures. A couple of things that I thought you might think about, things that I feel might enhance, is one, maybe a little bit more practice. Now your speeches are generally felt, as far as I can see or I feel, is that they seem very natural, like you're telling a story, which is great. That's exactly what you want. But you do have some ahs and ums in there. And I think if you've kind of fine-tuned things a little bit more, you can get rid of those and they won't be a distraction. So maybe think about that. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out, and this is something that maybe I would ask and challenge you with, is maybe step back from your camera and do some of your gestures out here and move close in when you need to. And this will enhance some of the points that you're making as you go along through your speech. So I challenge you to do that. So think about these things. One, you had a great opening. You made it good transitions to intertwine your stories throughout your speech, good vocal variety and gestures, facial expressions. Think about your ahs and ums, maybe rehearse a little bit more or tighten up your speech a little bit more to get rid of those. And then maybe stand back to enhance those gestures a little bit more. Great speech overall. Again, it was a joy. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
All right, thank you so much, Rob. Let's see, I will send you your time here shortly. Our next evaluator this evening is going to be evaluating Justin's speech. Justin's evaluator for this evening is John Vessels. John, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Make sure that you've got Rob again pinned, because timer duty is going to go back to him, and take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Justin. I want to talk to you tonight about your speech on mentoring. And I want to say first off that you had a really good opening. You started out with student, teacher, and then mentor, mentoring, and involving kind of attributes of both and how they relate to each other and what we should be looking for and how it relates to Toastmasters. And you did that in the closing too. You wrapped it up really well and you brought everything back to what is a good or good traits of being a mentor and what the good traits are of being a mentee, a protege. I mean, you have to be able to listen or willing to listen and willing to apply what your mentor has told you or taught you. Now, the best part of your speech was the middle, and that was the body, and that was your story about a time that you were a protege, that you admitted, and I know it's always difficult to admit that you weren't perfect and that you lost a whole bunch of matches and you were just on this terrible losing streak until finally a mentor came along and helped you out and told you what your faults were, what your problems were, and how to approach those things and how to come back. I would have liked to have seen hear a little more story about James and yours interaction on what else he taught you and some other things. I mean, it was good, but I bet there's more to the story too, and some more like maybe situations, but you gave us good examples of things he told you. You were up there and, you stepped back from the camera and you demonstrated to us about the both leg takedown and the one leg takedown and how that worked out. So you were very physical and you had, I don't want to say good posture. It isn't posture, obviously, but you demonstrated to us some of the things that helped you and what wrestling is all about. I watched wrestling a lot on college wrestling and stuff, so I knew all kind of the things you were talking about because I've seen plenty of it. But all in all, I thought you did a very good speech. My favorite part was, of course, your discussion about you and James and how you came in your first victory and you were finally so excited and you celebrated as a team and everything. And you brought up some vocal variety in there and some, when you were demonstrating the things, those were all the best things I liked about it. And, cheering and being happy with yourself and realizing that by applying what your mentor taught you, you finally got your first victory. Like I said, you wrapped up the thing really good, giving us attributes of the mentor-mentee and what they need to do. All in all, I thought it was a very entertaining speech and very enjoyable, and it's always good to hear from you. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you so much, John. All right. We've now had both of our evaluators do their evaluations of our speeches tonight. Means I have a couple more duties to call on, which we'll go ahead and start with our timer. How did our speech evaluators do on their times tonight? Oh, I'm sorry, Rob, I didn't send you yours. Like
That's okay. I suspect that I went over because I know that I was stretching that very.
You were at 3:38. You did go, 3:38.
Okay.
You did go over.
But John Vessels did qualify at 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay. So that means at this point, we will not have to have a vote for the best evaluator because that is decided because of a disqualification on time. Let's see. I think the next thing probably is going to be go ahead and go through some of our duty holders reports for how we did tonight. And then I'll do a summary of the meeting as a whole. I don't have a whole lot of comments, so I will do them in that order tonight. Let me start with our grammarian. Our grammarian, of course, was Karen Lee. Tell us how we did on our grammar tonight.
Well, tonight, Tom used some interesting words such as hubris and ego, karma. Justin used words such as prodigy, baptism of fire. And also, both Justin and Rob used the word of the day. Rob used joy twice in his evaluation. And so those are very, and also when Tom was talking about his self-proclaimed holiday, as Lee put it, he mentioned Festivus, which I've never heard of. So, and also, do you want me to go ahead and go through all counter?
I was going to say you're also the all counter, so sure, go ahead and please do that at the same time.
Tom did have some us in his speech, and Dagan had and a couple of so's. Both Heather and Sam used the word so in their table topics. Go ahead, back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
All right, thank you so much, Karen. Our next duty is going to be the posture monitor. Posture monitor tonight was Madeline. Madeline, how did we do on our posture tonight?
We did really great. So I tried to keep up. Here's the notes I took. Let's see. Rob, you did great. I really like your gestures. They enhance your story. Like you were talking about a specific time frame, and then you were pointing to the top corner. I don't even remember why, but it enhanced whatever you were talking about. Tom, I just put eyebrows. So love the expression. And then you were talking about the 2 radio towers. I think you were making hand gestures for that. And the slingshot, you pointed up. You enunciated points really well that you wanted to stand out. And I thought I know that Rob mentioned this as well, but like answering the phone, you used that gesture as well. So posture is really great tonight. And then Justin, I was trying to take notes and I stopped. But yeah, I really liked all the gestures you did. It really enhanced your speech. I thought it was really cool when you got up and done the sweep, the single leg and sweep gestures. So it was really cool, the throne gesture. Great job just throughout that entire speech. I thought it really enhanced what you were talking about. So I didn't find it distracting. And then Dagan, I just noted you pointed out to the word of the day. Always appreciate that. And then Rob, when you were doing your evaluation, I also appreciated you were talking when you stood back to really make your point about standing up, standing back. And then John, I just noticed that you had appropriate hand gestures when you were talking to better make your point. So I really didn't notice anything negative or distracting from anyone speaking. I thought it was great, and I had a hard time taking notes, keeping up on all the great posture. So thanks, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Madeline. Nice detailed report. Okay, so having gone through, that's the last of our duty holders for the night. Let me go through a general evaluator's perspective on the meeting. We were all here pretty much on time. There were a couple of people who were coming in just about at the last minute, but under the wire, we're good. There was apparently a mix-up with regard to email and where evaluation forms went. I don't know what the ultimate conclusion of how that happened or what it was, but we got it resolved. But it did result in a reordering of our speakers tonight, just to make sure that our evaluator had the proper criteria. This was a meeting with 2 speakers, and we had 2 guests. And I'll say something else about the guests in a minute, but we had 2 speakers and 2 guests. That's great, especially for an online meeting rather than in person. So I always like to have 2 speakers because then we actually have a contest and we have voting and all of that kind of good stuff. And of course, we love having guests here. I also noticed Tom's vocabulary. I don't hear the word hubris very often, but I like the word hubris when I hear it. So I think that was probably the word that caught me the most off guard in terms of getting my attention. And I just have to say, Tom, yes, it was very entertaining. You have a very entertaining manner with the way that you relate stories, the smiling and the engaging manner in which you do it. I think it works very, very well for what it's worth. Justin, I liked the speech. I liked all of the content of your speech. There was one thing that was a little bit distracting in that you, I believe, probably had Zoom set on blur. That's not a problem. I'm looking at Madeline right now, and she's got hers on blur as well, but it's not as noticeable on her because she didn't have her hands out like this. When you did this, your hands blurred. That was why it was a little bit unusual. So when the hands were in closer, they didn't do it, but anything that was far enough away from your body, it decided it was going to blur no matter what. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not recommending that you keep your hands in. I'm not even going to say that you necessarily have to not turn on blur, but just keep in mind that it's going to do that. And I did find it just a little bit distracting to see your hands kind of come and go. Dagan, for table topics. The questions, I thought you have very reasonable questions for the topic, for the theme of the day. And I thought every question that was there was something that somebody could answer pretty easily. That's kind of the goal. The goal is not really to play stump the person doing the answer. I may admonish the entire club, although I'm not sure how much I get to admonish. For the fact that you sent the question out about how many people had birthdays and only 2 people responded. Okay, it's possible that only 2 people in this entire club have birthdays within that range, but I kind of doubt it. I know I responded. Obviously, Madeline was silly enough to respond because it cost her. But I suspect that there are other people who were in that range as well that chose not to respond. And those are the people who I am putting on notice. Yes, if it's in the chat and you happen to notice it, go ahead and respond. Yeah, it may make you eligible for something, but that's what we're here for. So please do. With regard to table topics, I mentioned that we had 2 guests. Not only did we have 2 guests, we had 2 guests that each took questions, and appreciate that especially. We don't always have guests that are willing to take questions. I'd say usually it's about 1 out of 3, and tonight we were 2 out of 2, 100%. So that's a really good batting average. And for Dagan, you did everything in the right order. You did ask some questions of the members who know what's going on a few times so that our guests get to see it. And that's the right thing so that our guests get an idea of how the game is played before they actually have to play it themselves. Other things. I wrote down votes, but I don't remember what that was for, so we'll skip that one. Rob, you did a particularly good job of warning me that if you were going to be doing an evaluation and you were timer, you needed somebody else to do the timer duty for you. We had that conversation, I guess, or chat before we got there so that everybody was ready. There was no delay. That was excellent. Appreciate that. I also noticed, John, in particular, during your evaluation, your gestures were just high enough to get them up into the screen. So we saw more gestures than we usually do from you, which is great. And we could tell, even if it's just about, I'm trying to emulate it about, some of this is over my name in the little box that I'm seeing, but you had them about here. We didn't see your entire hands, but we saw enough to know exactly what you were doing. And that was good enough. And it was certainly, like I said, more than we see on most occasions and for most of the people, just because of the fact that we're on Zoom. Duty holders reports, I liked all of the reports that you gave. The most important thing for a duty holder really is not to just say, we did a great job tonight. That's nice, but it's not actionable. It's all of the specifics that you bring up and all of the specific things that you note without necessarily redoing their evaluations or their speeches. Those are the things that really help to point out the things that you did in a concrete manner that is actionable so that you can know to do it again. So I really like and appreciate all of those. That's going to conclude my report for tonight as the general evaluator. I do have one last duty, which is to call on a vote for the best of the big 3. Since we would normally have a vote for best evaluator, but we had a disqualification. So I'm just going to call for a vote for the best of the big 3. The big 3, of course, being our Toastmaster tonight, Lee King, our table topics master tonight, which was Dagan Newland, or myself as general evaluator, Mark Schroeder. And maybe the only Mark here tonight. That's a shame. We have a very small number of Marks. We're going to have to work on that. All right, membership, find me more Marks. All right, if you would please, our vote counter tonight, of course, is Adelita. Please cast your vote for one of those 3 persons in private chat to Adelita. If you're one of our guests, you are welcome to vote as well. Give everybody a moment. Also, if you would like to pass any comments to our evaluators, you can either send those directly to the evaluators or to Adelita.
All right, I will go ahead and start with the business portion of the meeting. We do have 2 guests. I will call on both of the guests. If you could please just tell us what brings you to Toastmasters and what you thought about our meeting. We'll start with ladies first. Heather.
I like your dog. Sorry, I'm easily distracted, but I came to Toastmasters because I really want to improve on my public speaking skills. I thought that question was really hard, though. I don't think I had a good answer for that question. So maybe next time I'll get a better one. And yeah, I thought it was a great meeting. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. And Sam.
Yeah, excuse me. I'm glad I came. I used to be a member of the Irving Toastmasters. And the last time I attended was 2 years ago. And I kind of, I feel now that, I think I'm struggling with public speaking. So that's why I had to jump on to this meeting. And I actually drove all the way from Irving today, about 35 minutes drive. And I don't regret it. I don't regret coming down to this place. And I'm glad I'm able to at least take part into this meeting. I know I have a lot to learn, and I look forward to attending more sessions.
Great, thank you.
Well, Sam, we regret the fact that you had to do the drive in order to do it under the circumstances, but we're glad you're here.
No worries.
Yes, and that actually brings me to my next point, which is that we will remain virtual for the remainder of the year. We do have one meeting left before Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, I was just looking at the calendar. We've got 3 meetings before the 23rd. The 23rd is actually the 4th Thursday of the month. So we may look at doing some kind of a special meeting or a social or something like that on the 23rd. We did do a holiday virtual gathering just before Christmas last year. And we might look at doing something virtual again, maybe a special meeting or just a happy hour social type thing on the 30th. This year's a little different since Christmas is on Saturday. And then we will, between now and then, be looking at returning back to Ozona, with the target being that we will return on the 6th of January, obviously. We will also, as officers, consider if we will be going back hybrid or completely in person or staying virtual. A little early to tell at the moment, but we will be monitoring the COVID situation, obviously. Other than that, I really don't have any other business. Things are not going. No, we don't really have much going on in the district at the moment either, with the holidays and everything. We are an annual club as far as officers, so we don't have officer elections. We will be getting more information about the Toastmasters Leadership Institute probably here pretty soon, especially if they're going to do a jump start in December, but we don't have anything at this time. With that, I will go ahead and call for our vote counter. Adelita, will you please share the votes with us?
Okay, so I'm going to call these out on order. For best speaker of the night, that would be Tom. And for table topics, best speaker, that would be Heather. Yay. Best evaluator, John. And best big 3, Mark, the only Mark here.
Congratulations. All right, with that, meeting is adjourned.
Just before I stop the recording, just a couple of other very quick things. Let's see. First of all, it is true, by the way, Dallas County is still at orange, so that's good. That's where we at least need it to be if it doesn't get any better. Just a quick report on, since Sam ended up in the wrong spot, I just did some checking. We obviously on our own website say that we are meeting virtually, but that's on our own website. It turns out that there isn't really even a place to put that in all of the information on the Toastmasters.org site unless we wipe out the Ozona address.
No, there's a check mark that we can do, and it was on before, but I had turned it off when we went back in person.
It's still on. I'm looking at it. It's there. It says that we are.
Well, it says then it should say online meetings or something like that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask him exactly where he saw that we were not, because he didn't, Sam did not manage to see it. I do see the check mark. The check mark is there that says meeting. Well, it says it accepts online participants, but that's not the same as saying online only. That's
true.
a little bit different. What
Yep.
I've done temporarily, and I'm going to make sure that it's visible. As an officer, I can't really guarantee what it's going to look like to somebody else. I guess maybe if I logged out, maybe it'll look right. I don't know. But there is a spot under the Ozona address where there's another line for an address. And I can stick now online only in that as a workaround. Maybe that may be the only place. I just need to make sure that that's going to be visible to people outside, because it's also got an email address for us there. And I know that's not publicly visible and other stuff. So I'm trying to solve that problem so that it doesn't happen again. But I'm surprised that there's nothing on our on the club meeting location that allows us to check or say that, short of wiping out the actual physical address. Anyway, so that's where we are. If there's nothing else, real quick, I'll ask just briefly, is there anything else? And if not, we will stop the recording. Hearing nothing, I'm going to stop the recording in 3, 2,